Hi there everyone, welcome to another video in this series. This video is focusing on the introduction to the management or the gateway case study exam. Now the gateway case study exam and the management case study exam are the same exam, but the name is different for different students who come from different study routes. Now, for example, if you have studied the E2, P2 and F2 pillars, then you will directly go on to the management case study exam. If, for example, you have claimed some exemptions, which means you've done an MBA or you have certain work experience and CIMA accepts your exemptions, you can directly enter into the gateway case study exam without taking the E2, P2 and F2 OTQ exams. The exam is the same, just the name is different because of the different routes that students are coming from. So we receive a lot of students from the gateway route who's coming from the exemption background, and we also receive a lot of students who are coming from the traditional background, which means have taken the OTQ exams. This video is going to give you a great introduction to the management and the gateway case study exam, giving you a very detailed understanding of what you can expect in the exam, what the exam is about, and most importantly, how can you pass your exam. So first, let's speak about the management case study. Now, the case study examination tests your knowledge, your skills, and your techniques from the three pillars within a simulated scenario. They say three pillars and simulated scenario. Now, what are the three pillars? The three pillars are your knowledge pillars, which is E2, P2 and F2. If you have not taken these exams and claimed exemptions, then the first thing that you will have to start on is E2, P2 and F2. How you can start on it, how you must study for it, I'm coming to that. But let's just know about the exam. So the first fundamental of this exam is that you should have the basics of E2, P2 and F2 clear. Specifically P2 because P2 is the most important pillar for this exam. And then they say simulated scenario, which means candidates are given a fictional case study before the examination, and then your questions in the exam are based on that particular case study. So what CIMA does is, before the exam window, 1 month, 1.5 months before the exam window, CIMA releases a pre-seen company, or they call it a case study company. In that pre-seen company document that CIMA releases, it's about 30 pages and it will have a fictional company at its center. They'll tell you that this is the company XYZ, this is what it does, these are its financials, this is how it sells its product, this is how it's costing its product. So the whole detail of a fictional company will be created by CIMA in 30 pages and they'll give it to you. You then have to analyze it. You then have to understand it because your exam questions are going to be based on this company. How can this company improve? What are the costing systems that this company can implement? So your three pillars knowledge, E2, P2 and F2 knowledge, will have to be combined with the pre-seen company, the fictional company understanding, and then you can write an exam question and then you are ready for the exam. So the first two things that we spoke about is the importance of E2, P2 and F2. The second thing that we spoke about is the analysis of the fictional company that CIMA gives you. Your questions will be based on that company. Now, when you're studying, or when you choose to rather study with a registered tuition provider like us, like Finntutors, the entire exam preparation is handled by us. All the materials come from us. All the instructions, all the steps we will give you. Your job will be to simply follow. So the case study mimics the role in a real work scenario. So they're trying to make the exam as real, as practical as possible. Hence they give you a case study, and hence they ask you questions on that case study where you have to use your E2, P2 and F2 knowledge rather than a theory based exam. The management level exam simulates the role of a finance manager. They tell you that you are a finance manager working in this company. This is the company's detail. And then they'll ask you questions on it where you will have to use your 3 pillars knowledge, E2, P2 and F2 knowledge, to answer the question. So in an umbrella, the management case study exam is one where your E2, P2 and F2 knowledge is tested. Secondly, your case study understanding is important. And thirdly, you're playing the role of a finance manager. Whether they say management case study or the gateway case study, it's the same exam. We have a lot of students that come from the exemptions route. So you don't have to worry. The exam is the same. The instructions are the same. Just follow me. So we learned the basics of this exam. Now let's come to some exam facts. How to study, what to study, what material you must use. I'm coming to that. Let's just know about the exam first. So the first thing we learned was the basics of this exam, that there is a fictional company that you have to analyze, that E2, P2 and F2 is very important. Now let's look at some exam facts. Now in the actual exam, the exam time is going to be 3 hours. And you will have 4 questions, 4 case study style questions, scenario based questions. For each question, you will be given 45 minutes. So 45 minutes given for each question. And once the 45 minutes for question number 1, for example, are completed, question number 1 is automatically submitted. Then you go on to question 2, another 45 minutes. You can't use 30 minutes for question 1 and then carry forward the 15 minutes to question 2 and then use it over there. No. 45 minutes for one question. You have to use the time for that particular question, and trust me, you will require all the minutes, all the seconds that they give you, because it is, you won't be able to finish the answer if you don't use the time well. So 3 hours, 4 questions. Each question is 45 minutes. And once 45 minutes are up, question 1 is submitted. You cannot come back to question 1. It's gone. It's submitted. Then you go to question 2, another 45 minutes. It's gone, submitted. Then 3, then 4, and finally the exam ends. You can't scroll through the questions. So like I said, with each question, you can have multiple tasks as well. Which means in question 1, let's say they give you a full scenario, and then task 1 is, what do you think is the better marketing strategy, for example? Then you have to explain. Second, they can ask you in the same question. Second task can be, what do you think is a better costing system? Do you think activity based costing can be used for our company? They asked you 2 things in question 1, which means in 45 minutes you have to answer both of these things. You have to answer both of these tasks to make sure that you get your marks, to make sure that you get the allotment of marks, right? So understand that there is 3 hours, 4 questions, you can't scroll through, and each question will have at least 2 tasks, 2 subtasks. Sometimes there can be 3 tasks as well, but it doesn't matter. You have to finish all in that 45-minute timeline. Now coming to some further details. If you look at further details, on the left hand side, you will see the first screen of the exam. This is the actual screen of the exam. This is the actual first screen in the exam. I've taken the screenshot from there just to make it, just to make it realistic, just to give you the real picture. So you'll see section 1, 45 minutes. So first question, 45 minutes, number of subtasks 2, and then percentage time to spend on each task 50% and 50%. So they're telling you that while reading the question, give 50% of your time to task 1, 50% of your time to task 2. So make sure that you give both the tasks equal importance. That's what they're trying to tell you over here with this allocation. Now, as students study deeper with us, and when we go to exactly exam styled mock writing, we showcase many tips and tricks on how this 50% can be converted to marks, and then how many points to write, what to write, how to structure your points. But that's when we go to mock writing, it will become too technical if I include it in this video. But for this video's purposes, understand that each question will have multiple tasks and they'll give you the percentage of time, the percentage of importance that each task should be given. So you'll see question 1, 2 tasks, question 2, 2 tasks, question 3, 2 tasks, and question 4 also 2 tasks. There can be 3 tasks also, 4 tasks also, and they'll give you the percentage accordingly. 50, 25, 25, that can also happen. 60, 20, 20, that can also happen. Anything, they can give you 3 tasks to 4 tasks also is what we have seen in certain questions. But majorly in the management or the gateway case study exam, you'll have 2 to 3 subtasks. To give you an example of the subtasks, I've taken a picture over here, which is a little blur, but I just want to showcase something which is I just want to point out a very important notification here rather. So this is the image of an actual question subtask. The scenario will be given on top, and then this is what the question looks like. You see, they're saying, firstly, tell me this, 50%. Secondly, give an answer to this, 50%. You see how it's broken down? That's all that I want to show over here. That is why I've purposely taken an image that is blur so that we focus on what I'm trying to drive. Once you click the next button, after this first screen, the first question opens up and the timer starts to go down from 45. You see the scenario, and then you'll have example, these 2 tasks that you have to answer in 45 minutes. So on this page, we learned a very important fact about this exam, that there are 3 hours and 4 questions. Each question can have multiple subtasks. I have to answer each in that 45-minute allocation. Again, when we go to exam style mock writing and when you do mock questions with us, which is exactly like the exam, we'll give you better tips on writing, how much to write, mark allocation, all of that at a later stage. Right now, we're just understanding the exam pattern structure. Now to a very interesting part of the exam, which is newly introduced with the 2019 syllabus. So this is the role of a finance manager. Now, like we said in the first part itself, on the first page discussion itself, as part of this management or gateway case study exam, you are given the role of a finance manager. You are simulating the role of a finance manager. So what is a finance manager expected to do in a CIMA environment or in a CIMA exam? Let me give you an example. This is something that CIMA has said themselves. CIMA says that a finance manager is responsible for monitoring and implementing of strategy in the medium term. Okay, so strategy management. Then they say he is also involved with helping long-term strategic goals which derive value and business opportunities. So value analysis, business analysis. He's also involved in cyber technology implementation. So the use of data, let's put it that way, the use of technology. Third, he's also collaborates with colleagues on different projects, product development, project development. So project development is also his role. He also needs to have a risk analysis. So risk management is also part of his role. He needs to help with the financial statements preparation, with reading of the statements, needs to help in external decision making. So needs to know IAS, IFRS. Now if you just summarize this a little bit, the role of a finance manager is to help with financial accounting, IAS and IFRS. Next, he has to deal with strategic management, employee management, project management, risk management, medium term decision making. If I look at all of these topics, they are a straight relation to the E2, P2 and F2 syllabus. So here is the link. To be a good finance manager, you will need E2, P2 and F2 knowledge, specifically P2 knowledge. If you have that knowledge, you can fulfill the role of a finance manager by giving them a satisfactory answer. So successfully completing your revision on the E2, P2 and F2 syllabus will ensure that you have the competencies which are required by a successful finance manager. This is the basic and this is the gist. Now to make it a little bit more specific, CIMA have introduced something known as the exam blueprint. CIMA has grouped the job of a finance manager into 5 core areas, into 5 core principles. You see on the left hand side, A, B, C, D and E. There are 5 core areas, and these core areas are nothing but the role of a finance manager. What did we learn on the last page? You'll be able to fulfill the role if you have E2, P2 and F2 knowledge. This is the same thing, but they have put it as blueprints. They have put it as core areas. Let me show it to you again. It's the same thing. If you do your revision of E2, P2 and F2, you're automatically covering all of this and you can stay away from all the technicalities, not confusing yourself any further. So the basic platform is E2, P2 and F2 revision. Let's read core activity A. Now core activity A says, evaluate opportunities to add value. This is very brief. So to give you more specific pointers, this core value is broken down into I can statements. So this evaluate opportunities to add value is the core activity. It's broken down into I can statements. Let's say, for example, the first I can statement says, I can select appropriate capital investment appraisal techniques and apply them to the situation. In appropriate investment appraisal techniques is a straight direction to your P2 syllabus. If you revised P2, you'll already know that the investment appraisal techniques are NPV, IRR, payback, ARR. That's all that this blueprint and further broken down I can statements are. Indications of your E2, P2 and F2 syllabus. But if you have revised your E2, P2 and F2 syllabus, you've automatically covered the I can statements and you've automatically focused on these areas. Yes, students that sign up with us have an added advantage because they receive our study notes. They receive our explanation of the I can statements, which is a one-of-a-kind document. And for gateway level students, we have an entire revision course which runs you through the entire E2, P2 and F2 syllabus in a video recorded form. In less than 24 hours, entire E2, P2 and F2 can be completed. If you are from the gateway route, or if you need refreshment of the E2, P2 and F2 syllabus areas, the revision course is a must-have and it's something that we have created specifically for you. So coming back, these blueprints are nothing but indications of the E2, P2 and F2 syllabus. If you're already studying the syllabus through study notes or through the text, you are automatically covering these. You can use these as revision pointers as well. So in learning about the exam, it was important to know that there is something called as the blueprints, there's something called as the I can statements, and without revision, you can't fulfill the role of a good finance manager. So we now know pretty much everything about this exam. It's a case study, fictional company that's given to you that you need to analyze. Without E2, P2 and F2, you can't do well on this exam. You also know what the blueprints are now. You know the exam format, you know the exam structure. Now to how will you pass the MCS? How will you pass the gateway exam? Again, by focusing on 3 pillars. Now my pillars are a little bit differently defined. I say that to do well on this exam, 3 aspects need to be focused on. The first aspect is your revision aspect. The second aspect is the Preseen or the fictional company analysis aspect. And the third most important one, where the first 2 are combined, where the first 2 amalgamate, is the third pillar, which is the mock writing pillar. If you do all these 3, and if you're studying with us, obviously, you have the greatest chance of passing this exam, and the best opportunity to do well on this exam comes to you by studying with a CIMA registered tuition provider like us. And through all of this material that you are seeing, you'll understand that this is not a course that we have created overnight. It's something where a whole lot of work, whole lot of effort has gone into, and then you can see this result. And then we receive the testimonials that our students give us. Then we receive the feedback that our students give us. You can see them on our LinkedIn page, YouTube page, on my website as well. Now, so many testimonials are only there because students find our material helpful. So coming back to pillar 1. So 3 pillars. The first pillar was the revision pillar. How will you do your revision? A lot of questions come up to us. So P2 is the most important focus area. Like I mentioned, we first have a very comprehensive yet summarized revision course, which is video recorded explanations. So if you feel that you study better from videos, if you feel that you want to study at your own pace because they're on demand, they're videos, you can do it at your own sweet pace, your own sweet time. You have our revision course. Secondly, you choose any of our study options, you'll get my study notes as well. To just show you an example of how illustrative and summarized the notes are, I've put the notes of chapter 7 over here as an example. What we try to do is include a lot of diagrams, include a lot of summaries, so that it's easier for you to remember, easier for you to recall. Now, secondly, a very one-of-a-kind document that we have, which you'll not find anywhere else because it's created by me and my team, is the learnings documents. The learnings document tell you that from each chapter what you should know from a case study perspective, how you should know it from a case study perspective. We'll tell you that this is how activity-based costing will be asked. So no couple advantages, no couple disadvantages. For example, a screenshot of the learnings document is found over here. And you get this for each chapter of P2, helping you revise the most important part of the syllabus, which is the P2 syllabus. Now, when a student is studying with us, you can imagine if they opt for the revision course, they get the video recorded explanations, plus they get our study notes, plus they'll get these learnings document. What else do you need for doing well on the exam? Everything's coming from us. So the first is the revision pillar, where we give you the study notes, where you have learning documents, and you can opt for the revision course as well. Now, some points to note before we move on is that the case study is a stand-alone exam. You don't have to remember all the formulas, and you don't have to remember the definitions from E2, P2 and F2. We don't want that. We want your own explanations. We want your simple illustrations, which we have further evidenced in the learnings documents. We have never asked any student to solve any sums. We have never asked any student to create any table, solve a sum, remember a formula. Absolutely not. The learnings documents will tell you that from this chapter, know this in your own words. I don't need definitions. I don't need mugging up of anything. It just has to be a simple representation in your own words. So you can see how clear we are with our direction. That's why the course adds value, and that's why students pass using the course. So the first pillar is the revision pillar, which is very, very important. The second pillar, as I mentioned, was the industry and pre-scene analysis pillar. Now what we do for our students is you firstly need to have a very, very deep understanding of your fictional company. So the fictional company that CIMA gives you, you need to know the in and out of that company. You need to know that company in as much detail as possible. You need to know the details of that company, and because you're studying with us, registered providers, you get every single thing ready. You just have to follow it. You just have to make sure you make good use of it. Let me put it that way. Now, to help you understand the fictional company that CIMA releases, the first thing that we do is we give you an industry analysis. This is an extra document that we create to give you background information. You will have to make sure that you simply go through this industry analysis that we give to you. It will add a whole different enriching experience to your study. I've just put a screenshot of our industry analysis for the May 2022 and the August 2022 exam, which has just taken place. So this company that they gave us was called Piping Beverages. It was a company that manufactured processed tea. So we have made an entire industry analysis of close to 15 pages on the tea industry or the tea manufacturing market, tea market in the real world, to give students background information. We first give you the industry analysis. Then we'll start you on the pre-scene analysis, which means we start word by word, line by line of the entire pre-scene document that CIMA has released. And at each step, we keep adding our text boxes like the one that you can see on the screen, relating it to your E2, P2 and F2 syllabus, giving you important areas to focus upon, giving you important exam scenarios which can come up. All of this is a 70-page document which we create, annotated pre-scene, and then a 3-hour video recorded explanation on the pre-scene is also given to you. You can imagine how comprehensive it will be. I've just put 2 pages or 2 screenshots over here in front of you, where an entire financial analysis is also included when you choose to study with us. So the entire pre-scene, the 20 pages that CIMA releases, is expanded upon, and we put our own insights and relations to the E2, P2 and F2 syllabus along with a very deep financial analysis, and we explain it for you word by word, line by line, because without knowing your company, how are you going to do well on the exam? It's as simple as that. So the pre-scene is a very, very important part which we give you, which we will explain to you. Your job is to simply follow it. The third pillar to pass this exam is mock writing. Without putting yourself in a timed environment, in a timed scenario, and thinking about doing well on the exam is not possible. You have to practice mock questions. To give you a very simple example, we have put up one of our mock questions over here, and you will see it is timed. On the right hand side, if you notice, it's a total 3-hour exam. This question is 45 minutes, and you will see it's exactly in the pattern of the exam, exactly in the structure of the exam, and it's exactly like you would expect in the exam. Each question that a students write with us is timed on my exam portal, and it's automatically submitted to my marking team, and each question that a student writes is marked, checked, corrected personally. telling you that, okay, this is where you need to improve. This is how you need to improve. This is how you could have written a better answer. This is how you should have written a better answer. All of that we give you in our personalized marking format, in our personalized marking system. It will only, the confidence will only come to you if you have practiced in a timed environment, and if you have a professional marker telling you that, okay, this is how you have to improve, this is how you need to move forward. So that is a very important step of learning, and that is what we provide for our students. We do a total of 25 mock questions, which is close to 75 to 80 topics. Other tuition providers will tell you that they have 3 mock exams and they have 50 mock questions. That's not entirely true. 50 questions is 50 topics. I'm saying 25 exam styled mock questions, which means each question will have 2 to 3 topics, sometimes 4 topics. So I'm testing 75 to 80 topics from your E2, P2 and F2 syllabus, which I am sure will be enough for you in terms of your preparation. Now these 25 mock questions, we split them set wise. Learning with us is very, very unique. We start with sets of 2 questions. I don't directly give you a 3-hour exam, 4 questions. It will ruin your confidence because you're not ready. So we start with sets of 2 questions. You write those 2 questions, submit it to us. It will be timed to 1.5 hours. 45 minutes for each question. We'll mark it for you, check it for you, correct it for you, make a discussion on it, and then send you your corrected answers, which you can learn from, and then give you another 2 questions. This way we keep building your confidence. Towards the end, we will be giving you full 3-hour exams as well, exactly like the exam. But my system is to create a platform for you to learn, not throw you at the deep end without any support. So we create a platform for you to learn with 25 mock questions, 70 to 80 topics will be tested, personally marked, personally checked, personally corrected, showing you the direction, which I'm sure you will pick up on if the course is followed. So if these 3 pillars that I mentioned are worked upon, you are automatically going to do a good job on this exam. The revision pillar, everything comes from us. Preseen pillar, everything comes from us. Mock writing pillar, everything comes from us. So to make an investment with a registered tuition provider, or rather to make an expense with a registered tuition provider like us, is an investment in passing the exam. Like I mentioned, my teaching style, very, very unconventional, very, very student centric. So we give you easy illustrative study notes. First step. Second step, we test you using our quiz questions during your revision stage itself. Third step, we give you industry analysis. Fourth step, we give you Preseen analysis. Every single thing is introduced by us. Fifth step, we tell you how a mock question needs to be written, how you plan for a question, what a question looks like, what should you do in those 45 minutes, how do you break it down, how do you use it efficiently. It's a course, so it's very well planned and it takes time. And we do 25 exam styled questions, which we are sure if you practice, you're automatically doing the important topics and automatically you're developing a very strong foundation to do well on this exam. So through this video, I have tried to help you understand how studying with a, registered provider can really propel your chances of passing this exam. I gave you the introduction to this exam, what this exam is. I gave you the detailings of what this exam is. And then I showed you the 3 pillars that you got to focus on if you want to pass this exam. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope I'll see you on one of our study courses. Thank you for being here.